Hi there! So this is a quick recording to tell you how to use the Performers Spreadsheet. Now, when you open it up, it should open up on the instructions, but I know people don't often read the instructions, hence the reason for doing this video. Now, this spreadsheet works wonderfully in Excel because it's all formula and drop-down based. Doesn't really work so well on Mac numbers. Actually, I would say it doesn't really work at all on Mac numbers, and it's okay on Google Sheets. It's really written for Excel. I don't have the skills to do the other formats. So this is where you open it. These are the instructions you can read through. The one you get might look different because I want to rewrite these to make it a bit more user-friendly. So if you go to the data sheet, you will see this is where you start entering some of your data. So your name, the year end you're running to, so normally it's the 5th of April, some people do the 31st of March, or some people might do a completely different year end. Your unique tax reference number and your national insurance number, just to make sure that when I put it all through, I put it to the right person. And then I've looked at the type of things that myself as a singer and, well, in the past actress, they're the type of things that I incur costs on and I would potentially consider to be allowable expenses. So you have your normal thing like travel, so that'll be your tube, train, bus, flight, your hotel accommodation or Airbnb and things like that. That would be that type that goes into travel. Mileage, if you have a car, this is fixed at 45p a mile. If you go over 10,000 miles, you'll then have to adjust the formula later on. Or if you're using a bicycle or a motorbike, then just adjust the figure. Subsistence is when you're out on business and you have to grab something to eat because you're away from home, at least 5 hours on business and you're at least 10 miles away from home. Entertaining is not an allowable expense, but I've put it there to make sure it's split from subsistence. So entertaining, if you're taking your agent out for a drink, or if you're a musician and you're taking the other viola players out. Professional hair and makeup, this is specific to performances. It is not your everyday hair and makeup. So if you get your hair cut every 6 weeks, that is personal grooming, nothing to do with you being a performer. And it's the same with wardrobe and costumes. The only wardrobe item you can put through is if it's an item of costume, which might be if you're doing a play and you have to provide your own costumes, or if you are a performer and, I don't know, let's say you're an opera singer and you've got to buy a gown specific for that event. So that is kind of the allowable cost there. So it's not your jeans and t-shirt, it's not your rehearsal gear or stuff to wear to an audition, so you look the part and they'll cast you. None of that is allowable clothing. We then move on to singers' deps, musicians and deps and things like that. So if you have to get a dep in and you pay for that dep, that's where it would go. So all the rest of these are fairly self-explanatory. Okay. If you find there is stuff that you don't need, I will point out here motor costs. If you are claiming mileage, you do not claim anything for motor costs because the mileage includes the coverage of all things like your car insurance, repairs, fuel, etc. But if you find there's some stuff here you don't use, but there is an item you've missed, you can always overtype this, motor costs, say, and type in a category you want, and that will appear on all the rest of the sections. So if there's something else you need, but there's one here you don't need, then by all means just overtype it and it will affect everything else. Okay, so that is the data sheet. I'm going to go skip over those two and just go straight for the month. So what you've got, this is only for self-employed costs, is April to March, and there is a spare, so if you do run to the 5th of April and you want to put the last 5 days, you can put it in spare. So what is this doing? So you only need to fill in the pink bits. I like pink, so that's why it's pink. So let's say, for example, you had some spend on the 10th of April 2019. Your supplier was, I don't know, Southwest Trains. Can't remember what it's called now. Your detail is train fare. And obviously you can put in more detail if you want, but train fare, I'm going Waterloo audition. The category, now I've just tabbed into that category column and that cell, and you'll see here there is a drop down arrow. That drop down arrow gives you a list of every single one of these columns, and those columns are driven from that data sheet. So if I click on this down arrow, you will see travel, mileage, subsistence, entertaining, all that is exactly the same as that data sheet. Alright, so if I then click on travel, you've got a 0 in here. As soon as I put into the gross amount of £29.60, that will automatically populate £29.60. Okay? Okay, so I've put in a few more items so you can see here it's a bit more populated. One thing to say about mileage, so I put here some mileage and 91 miles. The formula that is in here looks, if there's anything in this column, it will say, oh, that's obviously refers to mileage, 91 miles, and it will put in here £40.95. What I couldn't work out is how for it to backfill into gross amount here. So I just need to type in £40.95. But I wouldn't worry about that, because that's my problem when I get the spreadsheet if I'm doing your tax return. Now, one of the good things is you do not have to put them in order. You don't have to insert lines, because what you've got down here in this spreadsheet is a whole load of formulas, and if you start to insert a line, these formulas won't be in that line. Okay, so don't insert lines, just carry on where you last left off. Now if I put in, I don't know, the 19th of April, I'm going to Amazon again because I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, and I've bought some file dividers. Okay, now if I've already used a category, I don't have to go and search for it by clicking down here and finding it. So as you can see, I've already used stationery and printing. So if I just type in the start of stationery, it will automatically remember it from that field. Okay, and I'm going to put in, they're really expensive. Okay, so that's a whole load of ones done. So if I scroll all the way over to the right hand side, there's this little check that goes on to make sure the analysis in all the categories equals my gross amount. So if something wasn't there, it will be highlighted over here. So if I just take out that mileage because it wasn't in there originally, you'll then see there's a little thing in here called check, and it says, oh, I'm missing something. So that's when you know there's a bit of a problem. So you do that for all your self-employed costs, and it is only self-employment, and it is only your costs. If I wanted to look by summary by month, I could then see, you know, I've taken all those totals for those columns and put it in one sheet. So I can then look at, you know, are there things I should be expecting every month? So should I be expecting my equity membership every single month? If I'm missing a month, then I know I'm missing something. Okay, and then I've got my accounts that sums up the summary. So this is what I would take as my accounts for my tax return. All right, but obviously there are some things that need to be looked at. Now on the summary by month, there is another check to make sure everything ties back, and you'll see again it's blown out by the mileage. So as soon as I put back my £40.95, not only does that check disappear, but this one also disappears. So that's when I know everything's actually in there properly, unless I've gone and inserted lines and mucked things up from there. Okay, if I don't put a category in any of these, so let's say this stationery and printing I didn't put a category on, again it would show that there's a problem. Alright, now there is one more sheet at the very end, and that is income, and this is for your self-employed income. You can type in anything you want, it is not defined by any drop downs, so put in your date, 25th the 4th 19, Opera, Bearwood, concert fee. They don't pay one, but let's just put down concert fee. This category is purely up to you. If you want to then analyse where your money is coming from, that's great. And I always suggest people put in the date paid, because if you need to find out if you've been paid something, then this is the place to go. And I've just realised that I'm typing all the dates in for 2019, whereas I hadn't changed the data sheet to be the 5th of the 4th 20. Sorry about that, confusing everybody. So that's what your income will say. Alrighty, there is no total on income because I don't know how much income you might be having. So that is how to use a spreadsheet, summary by month and your accounts. It doesn't put income in here because you don't have a total for income, but that is the starting point on how to use it. Again, it works perfectly well in Excel. It's okay in Google Sheets, but you might have to type in the category exactly as you see it up here. And Mac, well, Mac numbers, well, yep, less said about that the better. Alright then, well, I hope that helps. If not, drop me an email. Cheers then, bye.